Welcome to Open at Midnight, the home of true crime, haunted places, dark history, and the stories that most people have forgotten or wish they had. Before we begin, a quick warning. This video contains discussions of disturbing historical events, death, violence, and other dark topics. Viewer discretion is advised. If you enjoy creepy stories, bizarre history, and chilling mysteries, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And while you're watching, let me know in the comments, which story disturbed you the most? Now, turn off the lights, and let's uncover the most disturbing parts of history nobody talks about. What if I told you there was a time when your doctor might prescribe mercury, drill a hole into your skull, or even recommend smoking cigarettes? And the terrifying part? These weren't considered torture. They were considered medicine. Throughout history, people desperately trusted doctors to save their lives. But without modern science, some of history's most respected medical treatments were actually some of the deadliest. Tonight, we're diving into the creepiest medical treatments ever practiced. Procedures so disturbing they sound like something straight out of a horror movie, except they were completely real. Welcome to Open at Midnight. Like, comment, subscribe for more dark history and creepy stories. Trepanation, the world's oldest surgery, circa 7000 BCE. Let's begin with something that's been terrifying people for over 9,000 years. Trepanation. Imagine walking into what passed for a medical clinic thousands of years ago with a severe headache. Instead of giving you pain medication, someone begins scraping a hole directly into your skull. No anesthesia, no antibiotics, no sterile operating room, just stone tools and hope. Archaeologists have discovered thousands of human skulls with perfectly circular holes cut into them from sites across Europe, South America, Africa, and Asia. Some date back as far as 7000 BCE. What's even stranger, many of these skulls show evidence of healing, meaning the patients actually survived. So why would anyone do this? Ancient civilizations believed illnesses weren't always physical. Many thought headaches, seizures, depression, nightmares, or unusual behavior were caused by evil spirits trapped inside the head. Creating an opening in the skull was believed to release those spirits. Others used trepanation after head injuries to relieve pressure from bleeding beneath the skull, an idea that, surprisingly, resembles certain modern emergency neurosurgical procedures, although today's operations are performed under sterile conditions with anesthesia and imaging. Trepanation never completely disappeared. Some cultures continued practicing it into modern times for traditional or spiritual reasons, and a small fringe movement even tried to revive it during the 1960s and 1970s. Thankfully, your annual physical no longer includes a drill, mercury. The poison that was medicine, ancient world to 20th century. Mercury is now known as one of the most toxic metals on Earth. But for thousands of years, doctors believed it healed nearly everything. Ancient physicians in China, India, Greece, and later Europe used mercury for skin diseases, digestive problems, parasites, and constipation. By the late 1400s, mercury became one of the primary treatments for syphilis after the disease spread across Europe. Patients were rubbed with mercury ointments. Others inhaled mercury vapors inside special treatment boxes. Some swallowed mercury-containing medicines. The phrase, "A night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury," became associated with syphilis treatment. The treatment often proved almost as dangerous as the disease. Symptoms included tooth loss, severe mouth ulcers, tremors, kidney damage, neurological problems, personality changes. Many patients died from mercury poisoning itself. By the early 1900s, safer arsenic-based drugs, such as arsphenamine, began replacing mercury for syphilis. And after the widespread introduction of penicillin in the 1940s, mercury treatment largely disappeared. Imagine surviving the illness, only to be poisoned by the cure. Bloodletting. Ancient Greece to 1800s. If you lived for most of human history, one treatment was almost guaranteed: bloodletting. Its popularity grew from the teachings of the ancient Greek physician Hippocrates and was later formalized by Galen, who believed health depended on balancing 4 bodily humors: blood, yellow bile, black bile, phlegm. If someone had too much blood, doctors believed removing it would restore balance. Fever, bloodletting. Headaches, bloodletting. Mental illness, bloodletting. Pregnancy complications, bloodletting. Pneumonia, bloodletting. Even healthy people sometimes underwent it as a preventative measure. Doctors used knives, lancets, and later, leeches. Thousands upon thousands of leeches. Perhaps the most famous patient was George Washington. In December 1799, after developing a severe throat infection, he underwent repeated bloodletting. Historical records suggest he lost a large amount of blood in a short period. He died shortly afterward. Although historians cannot say bloodletting alone caused his death, many modern physicians believe it likely weakened him significantly. As medical science advanced during the 1800s, evidence increasingly showed bloodletting often harmed more than it helped, and it gradually fell out of routine practice. Ironically, medicinal leeches are still used today in carefully controlled microsurgery to improve blood flow after certain reconstructive procedures. Sometimes history doesn't disappear, it simply evolves. Lobotomies, 1930s to 1960s. Now we're entering one of medicine's darkest chapters. In 1935, Portuguese neurologist Antonio Egas Moniz introduced the lobotomy as a treatment for severe psychiatric illness. His goal was to interrupt connections in the brain's frontal lobes in hopes of reducing symptoms. The procedure spread rapidly. American physician Walter Freeman became its most famous and controversial promoter. Freeman developed the transorbital lobotomy. The instrument was inserted above the eyeball through the thin bone of the eye socket, then moved through parts of the frontal lobe. Thousands of patients underwent the operation. Some became quieter. Some became emotionally flat. Others experienced profound disability or died from complications. One of the most well-known patients was Rosemary Kennedy, whose lobotomy left her with permanent cognitive impairment and the need for lifelong care. During the 1950s, newly developed psychiatric medications began replacing lobotomies. Today, the procedure is viewed as one of medicine's greatest ethical failures. Cigarettes, recommended by doctors, 1920s to 1950s. Believe it or not, there was a time when cigarette advertisements proudly featured physicians. Some marketing campaigns claimed certain cigarette brands were easier on the throat or less irritating. A few advertisements even implied doctors preferred specific brands. Of course, those advertisements were created by tobacco companies, not based on modern standards of medical evidence. At the time, the long-term health effects of smoking were not yet fully understood by the public. That changed dramatically after decades of research linked smoking to lung cancer, heart disease, stroke, and many other illnesses. As evidence mounted during the 1950s and 1960s, public health guidance shifted, advertising restrictions increased, and physician endorsements disappeared. Today, those old ads serve as a reminder that even widely accepted medical advice can change when better evidence emerges. History has a strange way of humbling us. Many of the treatments we've talked about tonight were once considered cutting-edge medicine. Doctors truly believed they were helping. Some even won awards. But as science improved, those miracle cures became cautionary tales. It makes you wonder, which treatments we trust today will future generations look back on with disbelief? If you enjoyed tonight's dive into the darker side of medical history, subscribe to Open at Midnight, because every week we uncover the disturbing stories history tried to bury. Until next time, stay curious, and maybe be grateful you weren't born a few hundred years ago.